Hey guys, it's Emma. So today before I get started, I just want to quickly show you my new bookcase because it's really cool. I bought it a few days ago. It's a vintage bookcase. She said they think it's from like the 1970s. I got it from this really cool little vintage furniture store where they refurbish old furniture and paint them really cool colors like aqua and purple and hot pink, and yeah, so it was, and I got a good deal on it too, and yeah, it's great, and it fits pretty much all of my books, so I really love it. It's awesome. So this will be my new background for quite a while, I think. So today I'm doing my first book tag video. Today I'm specifically doing the opposites book tag, where you answer a bunch of questions concerning opposite things to do with books. So let's get started. So the first opposites question is asking for the first book in your collection and then the last book that you bought. I guess the first book in my collection could be 1984 by George Orwell. It's a pretty old copy, you know, it's very worn. It was probably printed around the time that it was actually published. Yeah, it was published in 1954, so, you know, a few years after it was actually released. So, yeah, so this is probably the oldest book, or the first book in my collection. I'm not entirely sure what the last book is that I bought, but I do know that The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling was in the last book haul that I did, and I think it was one of the very last ones that I bought, so I'll just say that it was this one. The next question is asking for a cheap book and an expensive book. So for the cheap book, I could definitely go with any of these Nancy Drew books. There's 3 more on the shelf here. Yeah, these ones are from the 1980s, and I collect these. I kind of just look for them anywhere I go, like little antique shops and whatnot. Yeah, they're from the 1980s. They're Nancy Drew books, and they are the Nancy Drew Files, the Case Files series. And yeah, when I buy these, I usually find them for like $2 or $2.50, so they're pretty cheap. Like this one. This one says $1.99, so it's pretty cheap. I'm not entirely sure which book is the most expensive book on my shelves, but I definitely know The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith, or J.K. Rowling, it was like, this is a brand new copy, and I think it was like 20-something dollars, maybe even like $30 or something, so it's pretty expensive for a book. The next question asks for a book with a male protagonist and then one with a female protagonist. Finding one with a male protagonist was a little difficult because most of mine are female protagonists, but I did find one, and that is Airborne by Kenneth Opel. The main character is a boy called Matt Cruz, and it's kind of a fun book. I read this last summer. It's like kind of like steampunk in a way, and it deals with an airship. It's like a cruise ship, but it's in the air. And he's aboard. He works on the ship, and then he befriends this girl called Kate. And then the ship kind of crashes onto this island, and then they kind of go on this adventure and find really cool things. And yeah, it was kind of fun. For a female protagonist, I chose Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I just read this a few months ago, and the main character is a girl called Kath. So there you go. So the next one is asking for a book that you read really quickly and one that took you a long time to finish. So I can definitely go with We Were Liars by E. Lockhart for one that I read really fast. I finished this in one night, pretty much in one sitting. Started reading in the evening, and then when I went to bed I continued reading it, and I didn't stop till like 1 or 2 in the morning. So yeah, there was a lot of hype around this book last year, and I kept hearing all about it and how it was like, oh, crazy ending and this and that, and so I went out and bought it, and I really wanted to know what everyone was talking about, so I just pretty much didn't stop reading it until I found out what was going on. Yeah, and it was good. It was very good. Kind of sad though, depressing. As for a book that I took a long time to read, I do have one in mind, but I don't have it on my shelf, so I don't know if it counts, but I'm just going to say it anyway. And that is Breaking Dawn, the last book in the Twilight series. When I read that way back when it came out, I remember it took me like forever to read. It took me like 5 to 6 months to finish that book. I mean, it is a big book, but I mean, it was not a quick read for me. People can go, you can usually, if you really like the book, you can get through a big book quickly if you want, but I didn't like it. I wasn't enjoying it. It took me forever to finish it. I just remember it being really boring, really like full of all this backstory, and I don't even know, like I haven't read those books in ages, but I just remember that one. I think that's definitely going to be the one book that's taking me the longest to finish. That was like half a year to finish it. Next question is asking for a book with a pretty cover and one with an ugly cover. So for a book with a pretty cover, I'm going to go with Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is the book I'm currently reading right now actually, by Maggie Stiefvater. I've always liked the cover of this book ever since I saw it, everybody talking about it online and whatnot, and I do really like it. Although another book that I want to mention that is also very pretty, that I've always loved the covers of, is Deadly Little Secret by Laurie Faria Stollers. It's a series, and I've always loved these covers. I'll show you the other ones too. Got that one. I don't know, they're really cool. I don't know, I like them. Also the way they feel very like thick and papery, like papyrusy sort of, and then it has like raised lettering, and they're just really awesome. And I love like the pastel, like purple colors in it, and all the really cool designs. I don't know, they're really nice covers, so I'd have to mention those ones as well, definitely for pretty covers. As for an ugly cover, I don't think I really have any books that have like an ugly cover per se, but there are some that aren't that great. And one that I did find was Elmer Leonard's collection of these 4 novels from the 1970s. I picked this up to read because I heard that Quentin Tarantino's inspiration was Elmer Leonard, and I really like Quentin Tarantino, and I wanted to read some of this guy, so I found this book in this bookstore downtown, obviously. But yeah, I mean, the cover's not that great, it's just plain. I mean, it is a collection of stories, so I guess it makes sense to have the author's name and a picture of him, but I mean, they could have done something a little snazzier, I don't know, it's just kind of really boring. So I'll just go with that one. The next question is asking for a national book and an international book. So for a national book, I'm from Canada, I'm going to go with The Margaret Trilogy by Bernice Thurman Hunter. I've had this book since I was like 12 or 13, and I've read it like several times. I love it. So that's actually my most favorite book. And it's set in Ontario, actually right in the area where I live. So there's like, one of the reasons why I really love this book was because when I was reading it, there was like town names mentioned in here and like places that they were talking about that they were going to, and I was like, oh my god, I know those places because I live here. So it was really cool to read that. And also, it's about this girl named Margaret, and she's the middle child of 7 kids, I think, and she lives in Toronto, and she gets tuberculosis, so she's sent out to her aunt and uncle's farm in the country to live with them to recuperate, and there she meets this horse, this big Clydesdale, the farm's horse, and his name's Star, and they become really good friends, and they have this really special bond, and then she decides she wants to be a vet. And at the time, I wanted to be a vet, and I really love draft horses, and he's a Clydesdale, and yeah, it's just a great story. So it's about her growing up from the ages of 12 to 16, going through school and, you know, boys and just fun little stuff like that and family things and whatnot. And I just really, really liked it. It's a great story for anyone of any age, I think, and of any gender. For an international book, I'm going to choose How to Build a Girl by Caitlin Moran. I haven't read this one yet, but she is a UK author. It's a British book, so... And I've heard good things about it, but I just haven't got around to reading it yet, so I'm going to just go with this one for the international book. The next question is asking for a thin book and a thick book. So I have this one here, The Elements of Style. It's like a little, I think it's a pretty well-known pocket guide book for writers and authors and whatnot. And I bought it the other month to help with my own writing, and it is really thin, but it's non-fiction, it's not a fiction book, so I don't know if it really counts. But so if it doesn't count, I do have another one. George Orwell's Animal Farm. I read this in grade 9 for my English class for an essay that I was doing, and it is really, really thin, so I could also do that one as well. For a thick book, I have The Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe, and yeah, it's pretty freaking huge. It's like 842 pages, I believe, last time I looked, yeah. And it has all of his works in here, so I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I've read, you know, certain stories in it and whatnot, and poems and stuff, but yeah, it's gonna take me a long time to get through it. But it's definitely the biggest one here on my shelf. The next question is asking for a fiction book and a non-fiction book. For a fiction book, I'm going to go with The Diviners by Libba Bray. I haven't read this one yet, but I'm looking forward to reading it because it sounds so cool. It's like set in the 1920s, and there's like ghosts and murder and mysteries and serial killers and cool like psychic stuff, and I don't know, just awesome. Just everything that I love, it sounds like it's in this book, so I'm excited to read it. For a non-fiction book, I have American Prince, a memoir by Tony Curtis. Yeah, it's a memoir, so it's non-fiction, and I bought this specifically for some information pertaining to something in particular for the book that I'm writing. I'm not going to really say any more details on that, but yeah, I basically bought it for like research, but it is very interesting reading through it about, you know, an actor who grew up and was, you know, lived in the golden age of Hollywood in the 1950s with cinema and movies and whatnot, so it is pretty cool. So yeah, that's my nonfiction choice. The next question is asking for a romantic book and an action book. So for a romantic book, I'm going to go with Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy by Helen Fielding. This is the most recent book of Helen Fielding's, you know, of the Bridget Jones series. And yeah, I read it last winter and I quite enjoyed it. And it is a romance comedy book, as is with the other Bridget Jones books, so yeah. For an action book, I'm gonna go with Robopocalypse by Daniel H. Wilson. Yeah, I read this back in November, December, and yeah, it's pretty much what you expect. It's an apocalypse where robots suddenly turn and start killing humans because of this artificial intelligence virus that gets spread to all of them. So, and that sounds really like cliched and ordinary, like we've heard that before, but it was actually a very interesting take on it, in which the war has already happened, and the survivor, the main guy, is talking about how the events leading up to it, how it got started. Yeah, and there is action in it, of course. You're fighting robots, so that's my choice for the action book. The next question is asking for a book that made you happy and one that made you sad. So for one that made me happy, I could definitely go with Soulless by Gail Carriger, the first book in the Parasol Protectorate series. Yeah, when I read this one last summer, I have memories of me sitting on the chair just like giggling with delight at like some of the things that were in here, and some of the, just the funniness and the funny romance stuff that was going on. And yeah, it's definitely my favorite book out of the whole series. So yeah, I can definitely say that one. As for a book that made me sad, I don't really get, or I've yet to get really sad or like cry from a book or anything like that, but I could definitely say that We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Again, when I finished it, I didn't like cry or anything, but it was very depressing, really sad when I finished it. So I could say that one for a book that made me sad. Okay, so that is it for the Opposites book tag. It's my first book tag that I've ever done. So there shall be many more, I hope, to come. You're supposed to tag people on here, but like I don't really know anyone, so I'll just tag you if you're watching this video and you make videos. I'd love to see your Opposites book tag, and please share in the comments. And thanks for watching.